Hey guys, Zal here, and today I want to talk with you about the best chemistry classes that I have ever taken. Now, of course, this is completely subjective because how good a chemistry class can depend a lot about what school you go to, or what professor you take, or even what semester you take it. But for me, these are the best chemistry classes I've ever taken, from reasons ranging from like the content we learned in the class all the way to just how good a professor was in that class. So with that, let's hop right into it. Now, the third best class I've ever taken in my chemistry major is Organic Chemistry 1. Now, I know this sounds a bit like blasphemy because organic chemistry is a notoriously difficult class, and it's notoriously a grade killer and a class that people just can't stand, but I absolutely loved it. The thing I loved about Organic Chemistry 1 was partially I took it over the summer, and although it meant the course was accelerated and I had to shove a lot more content in a shorter period of time, I wasn't taking it with anything else, and it meant I could just focus everything on immersing myself in the material and really learning everything about the class. On top of this, I had this wonderful professor who is a synthetic organic chemist, and he worked for like decades in the industry, and he had all these insane stories and experiences. So as we were going through the course, he would tell us real facts about certain chemicals and real experiences he's had. And so all this dense course material was littered in with these hilarious and super interesting stories about working as a synthetic organic chemist in industry. On top of this, I felt like my intro Gen Chem classes I took in my first year as a chemistry major weren't really chemistry, and honestly, like especially in Gen Chem 1, it was just unit conversions, the class, and you didn't get into really interesting chemistry or like how to make molecules and synthesize certain things. And for me, organic chemistry was that first dig and sink your teeth into real chemistry, what people use in the industry, and more of the language of actual chemists. It felt like I had my first foray into actual chemistry, and for me, that was super interesting and kind of why I did the chemistry major, and I absolutely loved it. Now, number two is kind of an interesting one, and maybe one that people won't expect, but it is instrumental analysis. Now, this class goes by a lot of names depending on what college you're going to, but it's basically just the analytical chemistry class where you learn how to use all the machinery and instrumentation of a chemistry lab, how all of it works, and how to interpret the data and identify what chemicals you're actually working with. Now, one of the main reasons I loved this class was it was super hands-on, and you get a lot of really cool experience. And a lot of previous chem classes, you learned about reactions and really cool chemistry, but you didn't really learn how people identified these molecules and how you actually view these structures in real life. And analytical chemistry showed that whole new side of chemistry where you actually go and you can see how people identify molecules, how people run these experiments and all, which is really neat. On top of it, I had a wonderful professor, and I really urge you, if you're taking this class, make sure it is with a good professor, because this is one of those classes where a professor can easily make or break it, and if you have a bad professor, it can be an absolutely boring class and a pain to get through. Luckily, my professor was great, and she made the class super interesting, would always put in her own experience, and although it is a lot of data analysis and stuff like that in the class, it can be interesting with certain examples and a professor that makes everything just super clear. Another great thing about analytical chemistry is if you don't want to go to grad school and you want a good job right outside with a chemistry bachelor's degree, pay attention in this class, because every single industry wants someone trained in chemical instrumentation and analytical chemistry, because everybody wants to know what's in their stuff and what their stuff is made out of. So this is just an excellent pathway for employability, and it's actually pretty fun. Now, my third and final, the best class I've ever taken in my chemistry major has to be my 400 level organic chemistry class, Organic Synthesis. This is a bit different than like an advanced organic chemistry class, Organic synthesis specifically focused on synthetic methods, techniques, and training you to be able to design your own syntheses, just like they do in like the drug production and any organic synthesis world. This class was super cool, and a lot of the stuff we did was reading cutting edge papers on organic synthesis, learning how to do these reactions and how they work, and then just being able to sit there and train yourself to create syntheses. This was a really cool class for me because it felt like you were given all these tools, and after taking the class, I kind of feel like if you give me chemicals, I can make any structure you ask for with the right synthetic methods because of what I learned in this class. And that's just a really cool feeling and a really neat thing to be able to do. This was like almost exactly what you would be doing in industry or anything as an organic chemist, designing these syntheses and running them, and for that it made a really cool class. On top of it, we talked a lot about drug discovery and how actual pharmaceuticals are made, and this was really neat because we got this like in-depth look from a professor who was an organic chemist on all these amazing synthetic methods, and it was just really, really fun. Even the exams weren't made as a classical exam, but our professor would give us a sheet of easily available chemicals from places like Sigma Aldrich, or we could go on their website and find something easily available, and then a molecule he wanted us to synthesize. That could be something completely random, a drug or anything. And then we would have about a week and we would have to design a synthesis from these basic starting materials on how to create these super complex chiral molecules. And that was just really fun and a really cool thought experiment and all. It felt like you were a detective trying to like put together this puzzle to finally get to this complex chiral molecule. And it's just a completely different way of thinking. It's like a lot more like organic chemistry too, but completely focused on actual synthetic methods, and that's kind of what organic chemistry culminates to, that a lot of chemistry majors don't get to experience because they only take Organic Chem 1 and 2. It's a lot of work, super difficult class, made you think in some crazy ways and really push yourself as a chemist, but it was so fulfilling and you felt so good after you've created a synthesis. So any of you have a organic synthesis class at your college, please take it before you graduate. It's so much fun. I hope you liked the video. If you have your own 3 best chem classes you've taken, be sure to comment them down below and like the video, and I'll see you guys next time.